Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Guns N' Roses, the show of Leblon, cachaca in a previous life, love, and so much more with the man that we all know as simply DDO. That's right, Mr. Daniel de Oliveira, formerly of Leblon Cachaça. We talk a bit about that, but he's since now transitioned into the scene and trend manager position with Sydney Frank Importing. I've seen a lot of amazing Jägermeister events on his Instagram, and I suspect he's throwing a party right now. There's a lot of talk about pop rock, pop culture, the day after this crazy monumental election, and so much more. But there's a nugget of love and relationships, too. I think that's at the core of DDO as he transitions into this latest phase. So best of luck on the new gig, Mr. Oliveira, and I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with the personality himself, DDO, Daniel de Oliveira.
It brought tears to my eyes.
Okay.
When
okay,
November Rain was playing, it literally, and I've seen Slash before, and I know GNR reunited without Slash.
Yeah, but that's come on.
If you don't have Slash, you don't have GNR.
What the fuck's the point? Yeah.
You know, it was. But when they played November Rain, I had tears streaming down my face. It was that.
You had a November Rain of your own.
Yeah.
On your face. So this was the thing I kept, because they were played in Houston here probably a few months ago now. Why the hell did it sound so? Didn't it actually sound amazing?
It was just a magical. It was just a magical event. I mean, I literally flew back to Chicago just to see the show. I saw Guns N' Roses Friday night. I saw Britney Spears in Las Vegas on Saturday night, and I saw Skrillex in Las Vegas on Sunday night.
So it was insane.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. But literally, the best concert in my entire life was Guns N' Roses. I mean,
it shouldn't have been that good, but it was good. I would almost say this, probably it could have been better than it was in the 90s. Like, that's how rehearsed they were now.
Yeah.
So you seem like a pretty varied and prolific guy. So a Chicagoan, right?
Born and raised. Your parents, your mom is German and your dad's Brazilian. Is correct.
How did that go? Are the Brazilians more passionate and the Germans a little more austere?
I mean, my father's a musician, and my mother went in and saw him play one night, and history was made.
What does he play?
Percussion.
Was he Was it in Brazil proper, or was he in the States?
No, it was in Chicago.
In Chicago. Mm-hmm. And your mom finally stumbled into the show and saw him playing?
I guess so, man. And it was, like she never planned on having kids, and then at 41, it was like, boom, you're having twins.
At 41?
Yep.
Really? So your sister's same age then? Because I'm really smart about this twins thing.
I'm a minute older.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you hold it over her head?
Well, so we have kind of a history. We don't really get along, and
really?
our But our fights started before we were even born. So my mom is in labor.
Okay.
She's ready to give birth to my sister. And as my sister is about to be birthed, I lay my hand out and I block her.
You clotheslined her?
Clotheslined her. And my mom ended up having to get a C-section.
Because of you?
Because of me. And then they pulled me out first. Because I was like, look, you are not getting out of here before me. I'm getting out of here first.
Is it fair to say there's a healthy level of competition between the two of you?
Tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
Because she was doing speed rack. She's in the industry as well. No.
So I have a twin sister and I have two half sisters.
Oh, okay.
So Jossie is my half sister, but I call her my sister.
Okay, and so it's cool because you've already established yourself. She's younger, so there's not as competitive, I imagine.
No, she was like, she turned 21. She was living in Brazil for a while. She came back and she goes, I want to, work in the bar industry. I want to be a bartender. I was like, okay, cool. But I'm not going to have you working in some sports bar, slinging beers and shots and making boatloads of cash. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's awesome.
Why not do that?
But I wanted her to be constantly learning about, what we do and everything. So, she applied for a bar back position at the Drawing Room under Charles Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me and was like, "Hey, your sister applied for this job. What do you think?" I'm like, "Dude, she would be awesome." Because the thing is, between my sister and myself, like, she's a hard worker.
Okay.
Like, that's what differentiates us. Like,
So you've stumbled upwards? Is that?
I'm just a hustler.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a hustler. Like, what was it in Cocktail? The hustlers never work and the workers never hustle. So
exactly.
She's a worker.
Okay.
So I was like, well, if you want to bar back and work your way up, and she did, and she became just a beast. Like, she just did it, and it was awesome.
Is the hospitality bug? So your dad's a musician, which I guess I always get the creative piece of making cocktails is like composition. If you think about it, notes here, there's bass, there's mid, and there's treble. But was your mom in the industry at all, in hospitality?
She was a hairdresser.
Okay.
So I've only dated like two types of people, really. I've either dated hairdressers or industry people because they both really do the same thing. I mean, hairdressers and industry people both deal with people on like a personal level.
Right.
Hairdressers actually touch people, but
that's a good point. Yeah.
They're both, they both pretty much do the same thing. Although you should tip your hairdressers much more because they're in charge of making you look good.
They'll fuck you up, man. If they want to just sneeze, shave a little bit heavier. I mean, you got to respect that.
I got to say, I was here last night.
At Half Step?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And after the USPG Austin event, and I shouldn't be saying this, but I left after a few too many drinks, and I'm staying right around the corner.
Yeah, luckily you could stumble home, no problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds very easy. So I put in my Apple Maps where I'm going, and I start walking towards my hotel, and after about 15 minutes of walking, I'm like, man, I really have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So I walk into a bar to use the bathroom, and it's this bar.
It's
again.
This?
Yeah. So people are like, oh my God,
where the hell did
where
you
have
go?
you been? I'm like, holy shit, I'm back at the same bar I was already at.
There's not like a roundabout. That always would confuse me, but there's not like one down here on Rainy Street.
No, it was.
You hustled your way back to the same bar.
And then I literally was like, okay, it's around the corner. But yeah, it was a long one last night.
It's a nice metaphor for the industry, kind of a long path. You don't necessarily know which twist and turn you're going to take. I'll use that as a segue, right? So I read that you were a busboy early on, but like in school, like high school and shit, were you? I imagine you were still a hustler.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a good thing. You get stuff done, right?
When I was growing up, I mean, when I was 17, 18, I did like moving and stuff like that.
Right.
And even though the money was really good and like getting paid $25 an hour was great.
17, 18.
But I learned early on that I didn't really like manual labor. It was just not my... People shake my hand like, oh my God, your hands are so soft. I'm like, because I've never really done manual labor my entire life.
You're a charmer, aren't you? That's how you get into those parties. That's how you get into the room, right? Are you going to comment me on that?
It's, I found that I love two things early on in my life. Is like I really love booze and I really love people. And it's the whole, like, bartending is one of the greatest professions in the world because, I mean, depending on where you work.
Right.
But you show up, you open up your little shop, you serve people drinks, you make people happy, and then you do a little light cleaning at the end of the night, and then you go home, and that's it. And I just thought this was for me. Before I even turned 21, I knew that as soon as I turned 21, I'm getting behind a bar. That's what I'm going to do. That's my calling.
But so, like, even career-wise, you're thinking, man, this is a longer-term thing? Or were you maybe going to use it in marketing? Because you can still use the booze piece, and it looks like you've got a lot of social media presence and all that shit. But was it bar time all the time? Like, did you know from that moment that was going to be the rest of your career?
No, my first bartending job was, slinging beers and shots and smoking cigarettes with my customers across the bar with them, and I didn't really know, and I had an opportunity to either teach how to ride motorcycles.
Okay. Wait, so you're a motorcycle guy too?
I'm a motorcycle guy.
Killer. Okay. Did you do the trek from Denver to Tails?
No, I did not. But I looked into it.
Yeah.
I looked into it, and I was like, maybe I want to hop on this thing.
Yeah.
But I was doing a tour in a 1979 Volkswagen bus around the country during the same time, so it really didn't work out.
Yeah, it's the hippies versus like hippies Hells Angels.
Yeah.
So you either teach people how to do motorcycles or you're serving.
Or I took a job under Adam Seeger at National 27, which was before the word mixology was even in my vocabulary. Before
what year are we talking?
2003, 2002.
That's before anybody even used the word.
So before Violet Hour, before these, I mean, obviously Milk and Honey in New York and those places were the joints. But in Chicago, it was, if you wanted, a decent cocktail, you went to National 27. And we weren't doing like crazy shit. We were just mixing tequila and fresh citrus and pomegranate and passion fruit and a salt and pepper rim and just blowing people's minds.
It's crazy how simple it can be.
It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. But I mean, I look at that as like such a crossroad in my life. Like, I mean, I love motorcycles and I love all that, and then I had this other opportunity, and I had to make a decision. And if I had like went down the other road, and like, I don't know where I would be right now. I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. I guarantee that shit.
Would you be riding abroad? I have a couple guys, like I know that they went through Central America, going through the rum plantations and shit, just motorcycling through that.
I mean, I did that when I was 23. I went through the Midwest. I went up through Wisconsin, Minneapolis, South Dakota, Wyoming, Denver, and all about. And it was, I mean, the only way to travel is on a bike.
Yeah.
I mean, that is.
What do you like about it? I gotta be honest. I'm not real experienced on motorcycles. Keep my windows down and shit. It's not quite the same thing.
It's just different. You smell different things. Temperatures change, and you're like actually experiencing it versus like if you're driving around in an RV, you might as well just be at home watching your flat screen TV because it's kind of the same thing. You're just watching a flat screen TV pass you by.
So you're feeling it. It's open.
For sure.
That's a killer. I think that's interesting, too, because it's a very sensory kind of experience, which drinking and serving drinks and being behind the bar, you talk about cigarette smoke, you talk about fresh citrus. It's the same kind of experience in a way. So many smells, so many feelings, so many temperatures. It gets uncomfortable and all that shit. So obviously you had a very illustrious career in this industry, and we'll talk about the shift to brand ambassadorship here in a second. But what was that first job where you kind of had the baton? It was given to you creatively, and you could kind of like form your vision.
Well, I was at National 27 for 3 years, and I learned a lot under Adam Seeger. Yeah. And I ended up putting a couple drinks over the bar for a friend of mine, and ended up getting fired.
Wait, for just giving him to him, or creating stuff that's off menu, or what was the situation?
Just comping some drinks that weren't on the tab.
That makes sense.
So I got secret shopped, and I got fired. And it was devastating, man. It was rough because that was like one of my favorite places to work. So I ended up going to this place called Boca, and I dropped my resume off, and they called me for an interview the next day. I interviewed, and then I went in the next day for my first kind of training shift, and they had no cocktail menu. They had nothing. So I basically
what's the concept? Like, is it a restaurant or is it a bar?
It's a restaurant.
What kind of food?
Fancy food.
That makes sense. Yeah, suit and tie kind of place.
Yeah, it was a suit and tie kind of place, but it's in the heart of Lincoln Park.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's right next door to Alinea.
Oh, okay.
So you show up to Alinea, and you're 20 minutes early for your reservation. You come next door and you come see me for a drink. So I mean, we've had like Mario Lopez or. I mean, we've had
Mario Lopez caliber stars coming through.
Well, he was the one that I was like, all right, Mario Lopez is at my bar. I was, I definitely felt like I made it at that point.
I
agree. But they had no cocktail menu. They had no ending, so it was like a blank slate for me to work on. And I didn't really know shit at that point either. I mean, I learned a lot from Adam Seeger, but I didn't know about costing out drinks or flavor combinations. I was just kind of learning as I went. So I did that for 3 years. And
how different were you starting, or rather finishing it, than when you started? Was it a pretty big evolution for you creatively and?
For sure. I mean, I learned a lot. I met a lot of people, and about 2.5 years in, I got approached by a woman by the name of Lauren Clower, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to work for Beefeater for the summer?" I was like, "Okay, cool. What do you want me to do for you?" She's like, "We want you to go around, train people about gin, and buy people gin cocktails." Like,
sounds pretty damn good.
You guys are going to pay me for this? She's like, yeah. Okay,
Did you like
cool.
gin? Gin's polarizing, man, for some.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's
He's holding his heart, everybody. Like, very dear to you.
I mean, it was an incredible experience. And the next year when she came to me and was like, would you be interested in doing this again?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. So then I thought to myself, all right, well, if these guys want to pay me part-time to do it, I could probably find a company to pay me full-time to do it.
Absolutely.
So then I found another opportunity within the same family.
Okay.
And
Is it
just
Plymouth? Is that right?
It was Plymouth and Beefeater that I was working on.
Killer. That's like having two winning teams that you get to coach, because they're wonderful gins. Everybody they're open to those. You know what I mean? Like, craft's a little bit different for some people, but you're traveling, you're meeting more people. Like, I imagine that this bug keeps growing, man, because you get to do what you were doing in Chicago, but now you get to travel and do it.
Well, the thing is after bartending for 10 years, I was always that bartender that I would go the extra mile for you.
Yeah.
Whatever you needed. One of the best experiences I've ever had in Chicago, on the other side of the bar, and I wish I could remember this bartender's name, because I tell this story all the time. So if you're listening to this, bartender, please let me know who you are.
If not, I'm putting an ad up, so we'll figure out who it is.
So I go to this bar, Drinking Bird, and I go there to have a cocktail, and it's wing night.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll have a cocktail, and I'll have some wings, and I get the wings, and it's blue cheese, and I'm like, I don't want this shit. And they're like,
wait. What's the problem with blue? Not that it makes. I'm allergic to it, actually. But what's your problem with blue cheese?
Ranch.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Ranch.
And that's not a regional thing, right? That is just a pure preference.
I don't know if it's a regional. I just do not like blue cheese at all.
Enough.
I mean, It's not like I hate it, but I was like, can I get some ranch? And they're like, well, our chef here doesn't like ranch.
Was it Tober? Was Travis Tober the chef?
I don't know. I know he's a big anti-ranch guy.
He's beyond anti. He's an anti-ranchite. He fucking hates that shit. Anyway, I digress. So you ask for ranch. The chef's like, nah.
No, the bartender was like, oh, our chef here doesn't like ranch, so we don't carry it. I'm like, you have wing night. That's like having gin night and not carrying tonic.
Yeah, no shit.
And I'm trying to give him shit. And it's cool. Like, we have like a little friendly banter. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just take the blue cheese. So after like 2 minutes, he comes back and he hands me 2 little ramekins of ranch. Oh, wow. I'm like, dude, thank you. Where did you get this? He's like, oh, I just ran next door to the restaurant and grabbed some ranch for you.
Because that chef didn't have a problem with it.
Well, I mean, he was just like, he just wanted to, like,
well, it was
go
really
above and beyond.
That's a kind thing to do.
That's an awesome thing to do. So I was always that bartender that would do that, to take the extra step. No matter what it was, I would always take the extra step and go that extra mile. But I found myself becoming the bartender. I feel that every bartender has an expiration date.
Okay.
So, like, after 10 years, I felt like I was expiring. I was no longer that bartender that was like, if you came up to my bar and asked me for, hey, can I get a Grey Goose Dirty Martini with blue cheese olives? You know what? We don't really have blue cheese olives, but we have blue cheese on our cheese plate. So let me run back to the kitchen, grab some blue cheese so I can stuff some olives for you. To the bartender that was like, oh, do you have a Grey Goose Martini with blue cheese olives? I'm like, nah, dude, we ain't no blue cheese olives.
So you became jaded.
I became jaded.
Why?
Man.
Why does that happen? Just people wear you down?
I honestly don't know, man. I still love people. I still love it. It was just,
Was it like a creative crisis? I'm trying to understand because it's like people get stale in their career, right? Like this fucking dead end job, even though it's not really like that, but they have to change.
I started to hate people, man. I just started to hate like what everyone was. I mean, people would just be like, "Do you have blue?" You know, I'd like, "Hi, can I get you a cocktail?" They would ask me, "Do you have blue cheese olives?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you asking me for a garnish for? Like,
right.
What do you want a drink? I'm not, you know. Oh, let me get a Johnny Walker Black on the rocks with blue cheese olives. Let me get a Cosmo with a side of blue cheese olives. Asshole, here's a menu. Okay, we serve food here. Order a salad. Okay, this is
shit.
not,
I can even feel the tension now. Still,
it cuts deep, man. Like
it really does.
I've done so much research on the person that invented the blue cheese olive, and if I could ever say a couple words to this person, it's just I don't know if it's a Chicago thing.
Yeah.
People tell me that other places ask for it, or I go to other cities and they're like, "Oh, we've never heard of that before." Or maybe once in a while somebody asks for it, but it's just.
I don't think it's a big thing here, so maybe this is the future bartending.
I don't know. As soon as we leave here, I'm gonna ask Bostic if he has blue cheese olives, and if he does, I'm gonna punch him in his face.
Yeah, well, you might as well. He won't throw you out, and he could take a punch, from what I hear, which is good too. So then, all right. So is it clear then at this point you're like, kind of fuck you guys? All right, sorry, but fuck you guys. I got to go do something else. Is this when it was like a clear bridge into going and traveling and pushing a product instead of people telling you what they want to eat?
It wasn't that, man. Like, honestly, everything kind of just fell into my lap. Like my whole career, everything, all my jobs, they all just kind of, and people call me all the time asking me for advice on like, oh, I'm thinking about taking this brand ambassador job, and I ask people the same question, like, oh, I want to take this brand ambassador job with this company. I'm like, well, do you like drinking that? They're like, well, it's okay. I'm like, your life is going to be miserable.
Yeah.
But I have been lucky where I worked for a tequila company for 4 years that, you know, the parent company that I worked for, I don't want to say they didn't care about, but it was just like it was very low on the totem pole for them. Okay. So I got to kind of do my own thing. And I got to do whatever I wanted to do as far as events.
So they weren't going to stand in your way because they didn't really care that much.
No, right? I didn't have to like pass my events to legal. I didn't need to send them flyers being like, is this okay? You know, like I was lucky to work with a great brand manager and a great team that were like, look, we know what you do this.
Just keep doing it. Yeah.
Keep doing it. And after 4 years, that started to change. And, you know, I had an opportunity with a Brazilian company that it just all made sense. Like I announced
it's bringing it back home, right? I mean, is there Brazilian pride? Is that fair?
There's a lot of Brazilian pride.
Yeah.
And it's been honestly when we the last time I went to Brazil not the last time I went to Brazil, but the first time I went to Brazil after about 14 years, whenever I travel someplace, I always like to see, there's a distillery, a brewery, a winery. So I called my friends from Leblon, and I was like, hey, can I come and check you guys out? And they were like, yeah, come see us. So I talked to my dad, and he was like, all right, let's go take a 6-hour bus ride together and check it out. And we did, cool. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
So a couple of years, fast forward 3 years after that, when the opportunity came up to work for them, it was a no-brainer. I know their operation. I know what they do. And, you know, to work for a spirit company that represents my heritage is
I mean, it ties everything back together, you know? Well, so we'll talk about the cachaça in a second. But it seems like you've been traveling steadily for, we're talking, how long have you been a brand ambassador, so to speak, now? 10 years?
7 years.
7 years? Well, it's almost.
7 years.
So 7 years.
Full-time 7 years. But
that's crazy. Do you find it, as you get older, like, that that takes more of a toll on you if you don't sleep enough, if you don't eat right, if you drink every night? Or are you just incredibly resilient? Because you look young still, so I don't know what to think.
I know, man, and I feel young still.
Yeah.
I do feel young. I mean, I'm going to be 35 on Sunday.
Oh, that's nothing. I'm 36, so.
I know, but you don't, I mean, if you're like, how old is this guy? I'd say you're 31.
That's good.
Okay.
Right,
And
that's
I don't
good.
know how you would say it was, but people like, you're going to be 35?
Isn't that crazy? But you don't
But I
feel
don't
it.
feel that way, but I don't act that way, and that's probably why I have issues in my relationship, because I'm immature.
Right. But a young soul, man, that's what my wife tells me all the time. She's like, that's why you look so young, is because you feel young.
But I look at myself in the mirror every day. I'm like, I don't look any different than I did. I mean, maybe like a tiny bit different, but I look the same every day. I'm like,
so you, do you? Let's be honest. Do you take care of yourself? You're not overweight. You're tall. You're not bald. These are all great things.
no, man. This month I took 2 weeks off of drinking and nicotine. I don't smoke. Well,
right.
right now, a little bit. But I was a vapor, so
okay.
I vaped, and I took 2 weeks off of all that shit, and I felt great. I, started taking Portuguese lessons. I joined a gym, and I was just like on top of the world, and I was just like
Daniel 2-0.
I literally thought about just going sober.
Really?
Just being like, this is it.
Yeah.
And because I'm a bit of a control freak, and if you're a control freak, if you don't have alcohol in your system, you can control a lot more situations.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's taken a toll, and I always tell people it's kind of like, I don't know what this movie is with Jason Statham, where he has to keep his adrenaline level up so much or he'll die. So that's kind of where I'm at. But the years that I've taken off my life, and I'm sure I've taken off many years off my life, but they wouldn't have been good ones.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
What?
Just take the bad ones away.
91, 90, 89, 88.
What am I doing then?
What am I doing then?
Right.
Am I fucking? Probably not.
It all depends. Great advancements in medicine can be made. They aren't here now, and you got to live for the present. But I get it. I get that.
Yeah.
But okay, so all right, to your point then. So let's say even the early let's say 70s, right? Do you imagine yourself being in one place? I'm holding up one finger. Being married, having a family. Do you imagine being that guy even at 70? Is that what you want?
I did.
Yeah.
I would go. I went to my friend's house for his daughter's 1-year anniversary party, and I saw a photo of him and his wife when they were super young, and they were married, and just like they looked so happy. And I looked at that photo, and I thought to myself, "That will never be me." I just accepted it. You know what I mean?
But why does that? You got everything else lined up for you. Why would it have to be any different with relationships or love or any of that shit?
I don't know, man. I looked at that photo, and I was so happy for them, and I just thought that would never be for me, because they always thought growing up I'd have the wife, the kids, the white picket fence, the house, all that. I always thought that growing up. But then after a while, after many relationships, I kind of got like, I thought that wasn't for me, and I saw that photo, and that even reinforced it.
Yeah.
And then I met a girl.
You did. Same girl as now? As he exhales deeply.
Same girl as now, man.
It's good
Same
or bad?
girl as now. Where is it? This some stuff going on, man. I'm trying to work through it.
Good.
And this is the last thing I wanted to talk about on this.
Fine, dude.
I know. It's just the last thing I wanted to talk about on this thing, but like, dude, this chick is it for me.
Good.
I love.
I know
this
how you
woman.
feel. You're talking to a guy that's married, and it's my second marriage, right? First one, not so good. Second one, it's like, fuck yeah, I'm 70 years old. I'm the guy that I was just talking about. I don't want kids. Fuck that shit. But I'll stay in one place and be married happily. Changes you, doesn't it? It seems like you're resistant to it.
I'm not resistant to it, man. It's tough, man. In this job with the travel and everything else, it's just kind of hard to keep it all together. But back to that picture, which is Chris Patino and Heather Patino. Mm-hmm. Like, seeing that picture, I never thought that would be my life. But after meeting this woman, I thought maybe this could actually happen. Maybe this could be my life. And I don't know. I got to make it right, man. I just somehow pull it together.
Do you think that you could be? I'm trying to think of positions or jobs or opportunity that would keep you more in the same place, right? So does that interest you, or you still have to travel? You have that wanderlust.
No, there was an opportunity for a job based in Chicago, but only in Chicago and just doing Chicago. And I thought, okay, this will be good because I've been traveling so much, I don't feel connected to Chicago, but I love moving around, man. I love just, coming here in Austin and seeing fucking Chris at Half Step and Justin at Roosevelt Room and Amanda Cardo at the hotel that I'm staying at, just going downstairs at the pool and having some cocktails.
Yeah, I
love that shit. And I don't want to travel all the time, but I need it once in a while, because if I'm in the same place all the time doing the same thing, it gets stagnant and boring.
So you are traveling, you're seeing all these different kinds of people, you're going to different states, a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different ailments and woes. How are you feeling? And this isn't about politics. I want to talk about people. How are people doing? How are you doing in this post-election couple of weeks? Because I've read the tweets. I mean, I know how you feel, if that's indicative of how you feel. And I relate, man. I really do. But being out there in the public, do you feel this sentiment that people are really downtrodden and that it sucks?
Fuck.
I think it's worth talking about.
I think I took 24 hours, a little bit less than 24 hours to be in New York during Election Day, just because Bar Institute was going on. I wanted to see my friends from all over the country that were there.
Right.
And everywhere I went, there was a fucking TV. There was a projection screen. There was this and that. In bars that don't have TVs or projection screens. And people were just bawling. I mean, just bawling.
Yeah.
And I think that people were just blindsided because they just didn't think that this could ever happen.
Right.
And
did you think it would turn out this way? Because you're seeing more of the country than people that are insular in New York.
I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, people are like, oh my God, how could Trump possibly get elected president? I'm like, because the other candidate, I'll say it, was weak as fuck.
Yeah.
Was weak. Even the week before the World Series.
Gubbies.
The week during the World Series.
Right.
There were commercials for Trump and Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary's commercials were sound bites of Trump talking shit and just being an asshole. Right. And I'm not a Trump supporter.
Right.
Fuck that guy.
Right.
But his commercials were, I'm going to bring back jobs. I'm going to make America great again. I'm going to do all this stuff. And I told my friends on Facebook, which I've been I've gotten so much shit about my posts that I just literally gave up. I'm like, stop telling me how bad this other candidate is.
Right.
Tell me how great your candidate is. Tell me why I should vote for her. I mean, I live in Illinois. Right. I'm a blue state.
Yeah, of course.
It's not like I have to worry about I'm in a real pickle.
Right.
Who should I vote for? I'm fucking Green Party. Voted Green Party past 3 elections.
Yeah.
But give me a reason I should vote for. Give other people a reason to vote for. Don't just be like, this guy is so bad.
Yeah.
Even today, I wake up, I look at Facebook. Trump's hiring this person. Trump's doing this. It's like, guys, okay, he's a shithead. We all know this.
Right. How is this a surprise? What do serial killers do? Now, I'm not comparing him to a serial killer, even though he is sociopathic. But what do? They kill. So they kill another guy. Big fucking surprise. That's what he does.
But it was a sad day in New York City.
Dude. Oh, I bet.
I mean, they were walking around with the future is female shirts, feminists across their chest. It literally was like, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Hillary was already the first female president.
Yeah.
And when it all came down, it was like, I've never seen anything like it before. I mean, I was walking through the streets in New York, and people were literally weeping in the streets.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's fucking insane, isn't it? But are you optimistic, not about the presidency, but did it make you think that life was different for you? That in fact, you're going to have less opportunity. Or
I'm a 35-year-old
white male.
White male. You know, I can't. I'm not even allowed to have an opinion on it.
No, it's a good point.
Okay. I'm not even allowed to have an opinion on what is going on. I made a post the next day after the election. I'm like, guys, there's a lot of heartache, blah, blah, blah. We all need to come together. And like, people started blasting me. I was like, I took it down. I was like, okay, fine.
You can't say shit. No one can say anything. That's how it goes.
And I had one person just blasting me like, oh, we should all came together at the polls. I'm like, well, I live in Illinois. It's
oh man, I know it's tough. It's tough, and it's an interesting place, and you just feel it in the air still. Kind of things are getting better. I mean, in terms of like the tone, it feels good right now being out here and the doors open and shit.
Yeah,
at least there's that. And you also have cachaça. Tell me that's not a very rough and tumble way to transition into your Brazilian spirit. But if you think about something convivial, something celebratory, you got to think about Brazil. And you got to think about cachaça.
Well, our government's pretty fucked up there as well. I have
the most corrupt and
I have dual citizenship.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So it's like, oh, well, if things are messed up in America, you can just go to Brazil. I'm like, things in Brazil aren't all that great either. Mm-hmm. So, are
you getting any reprieve from this fucking corruption then?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, people don't even really know what cachaça is. I mean, I've been in Austin for the past day and a half, and it's been really cool to go around to the bars and the USBG event last night to talk to bar owners and people that were interested about the spirit category and talking to me about it. It was super cool.
And you're raising money. Everybody was raising money for their own foundation, right?
Right.
Which foundation did you pick for last night? The Branded Bartender? That's what it's called, right?
What's that?
Branded Bartender was the event?
That was the event. So I picked the Developing Minds Foundation, which is a charity that helps underprivileged kids in the favelas, which are the ghettos of Brazil. Yeah. So it was a nice event, but I had so many people come up and just like have no idea what this category is.
Really?
Yeah.
It's actually almost alarming in Austin with how educated people are and like kind of self-empowered, how they self-starters, they want to learn and all of that. So what's the biggest challenge for you when you try to kind of articulate what cachaça is?
Getting people how to pronounce it correctly.
That's tough. It took me a couple months, I think.
And just understanding, I mean, when you can break it down for people as like all cognac is brandy, but not all brandy is cognac. When you kind of break it down in that kind of sense where cachaça comes from a specific part of the world.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to rum agricole as it's made in the same way.
Fashion, yeah.
But just getting people, I mean, I was in a great liquor store yesterday, and I went to look for a couple bottles for the event, and I'm looking at their rum selection. They have, all the great brands.
Right.
Bacardi.
Right.
Rum Jam.
Nielsen, so they have some agricoles.
They have all the brands.
Yeah.
They have all the rum brands in one category, and the guy came up to me. He's like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "I'm looking for cachaça." He points me in the direction. It's all the way in the corner of the shop, next to the Pisco, next to the Bolivian brandy. And I'm like, why is it over here? I didn't ask him why I was over here. I didn't want to. Well, for one, I wanted him to carry my shit, so I wasn't trying to give him any crap. But I was like, why? He's like, well, it just just made sense. It's
South America.
They all go together, and
So what do you do? How do you feel? In what way do you think you can change the narrative? A captivating, charming guy that's traveling around like you. You can change it, you can move the needle, but how do you do that?
Just showing people that, I mean, if you look at the daiquiri, for example,
right.
It is a cocktail that everybody loves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a delicious drink.
Sure.
I love a daiquiri. Shit, I had one an hour ago.
Why, they're not one in our hands right now, as a matter of fact. But
it's a delicious. It's just about educating the public about what it is, and I'm the same way. I'm learning Portuguese right now.
Okay.
And there's a lot of tough words and a lot of tough pronunciations, and saying cachaça or caipirinha is
a little bit
is tough. So ordering that, but we're talking about a simple classic cocktail that any bar in Austin, Texas can make.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're a dive bar or a high-end cocktail bar. You have limes, you have sugar.
Right.
If you have cachaça, you can make this drink. So
that's the way to do it. Keep it simple, 3-chord, riff off a daiquiri. I mean, it's a beautiful caipirinha. I mean, it's an amazing drink. It's easy, man. I've never had one that I was like, I can't drink this.
I mean, if you look at the margarita, which is the most popular cocktail in the entire country.
Yeah.
You know, why is that? Because, I mean, have you been to Mexico?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I could ask every person in this bar right now if they've been to Mexico.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
They've been there. And how many people have you been to Brazil?
No. Love to go, but never been.
So, everyone's been to Mexico. Everybody knows tequila. Everybody knows the margarita. The margarita rules. So, how can we bring a little bit of Brazil to the States?
Yeah.
And it's just introducing to them this very simple cocktail, which, dude, that's my whole gig, man.
Yeah.
Just trying to show people what's up, man.
You're like a missionary in a way.
Missionary.
Right? You got things to share, things to prove. And so Leblon, so what's the best, Leblon or Leblon?
Leblon.
Leblon, okay. So kind of French-ish, right?
Right. So our master distiller, his background is in cognac making.
Oh, wow.
So he treats the sugarcane the same way that you would treat grapes. And he understands terroir and sense of place. And
so he gets all those extra kinds of things that sometimes people don't understand.
He's just, the bottom line is, no matter what spirit that you're talking about, whether it's whiskey or vodka or rum or gin, it all starts with the raw product.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good raw product, I mean, yeah, you could age it in barrels for however long and mask some of that, or you know, add sugar to it and mask the flavor. If you don't start with good raw product, you're not going to end up with a good tasting spirit.
Absolutely.
Simple as that.
Lipstick on a pig, yeah?
Right.
Absolutely. Well, man, so Leblon's got the one SKU, it's 80 proof. Cachaça, it usually takes 1 day for fermentation, right? Because it's that raw sugar cane. You guys, it's like 1 or a couple days, 1 to 2 days?
It's different for every cachaça
does it differently.
Differently, yeah.
And has it changed since they were fully acquired by Bacardi? Has the culture changed at all?
Nothing has changed at all. We still produce all of our juice. If something had changed at Bacardi, if it had all changed, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation right now.
Makes sense.
Nothing has changed at all. We still do the things the same way we do them, and we will continue to do the things same way that we do them.
Well, dude, we're gonna get some more whiskey. I'm gonna hang out a little bit. We'll chat some more, but it's been brilliant. Thanks for making the time to chat with me, Daniel.
Dude, it is so awesome to chat with you, and I hope I haven't said some things to offend anyone out there.
But you got to be like that. You know, I was talking about podcast today with somebody. You know why people like this? Because I don't fucking edit it. You can say what you want. You are who you are. I am who I am, and I am not apologizing for any of it, and nor should you. We all feel very similar, man. We're all going through shit too, you know?
But it was nice to have you invite me here, and it's nice to be back at this bar. And
yeah,
I don't know. I love this industry. I love everybody in it. It's just nice to be here, and I don't know where my career is going to take me next, but hopefully it takes me to more fun stuff like this.
Oh yeah,
so I
man.
appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much, man.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you.
Well,
there we have it, the persona himself, DDO, Daniel de Oliveira of Sydney Frank Importing, sharing the Jaeger to start the night and sharing the Jaeger that ends the night. Yes, perhaps that's a new marketing pitch. We do talk a bit about his previous gig with Leblon Cachaça and a lot of the challenges in the market there, and it's a great companion piece to this week's episode with Dragos of Novo Fogo, and kind of understand some of the difficulties in articulating the marketing strategy, the marketing position, retail, etc., etc. But Didio, thank you so much for being so open, so transparent, talking about love, talking about health, talking about transition. It's a lot of things that sometimes we as a group in this hospitality industry don't really talk about. So it was really a pleasure getting to know you, mate, and I hope you're having a good time with this new gig and that cold weather at times up in Chicago. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter if you prefer the faster bass lines or the slow, groovy ones when you're trying to get in the mood, or if you really would like to try a cake d'Aquoise, which I'm not even sure what it is, please keep thinking.